Secretary, Mr. Kaju, that the government should have just ignored this. This is a G20 year. You expect these kind of attacks. You don't have to swat a fly every time a fly comes past you. But you believe, Abhijit, that the government is doing this because it suits them politically. And every time, as I outlined in 2015 and 2020, numerous instances where such potentially polarizing issues came up, and it ultimately helped the BJP and helped Mr. Modi electorally. So you believe that this is being actively kept because the government also somewhere politically benefits. The only thing that's sort of Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zakir Jacob. So after 135 days and traversing more than 3,500 kilometers, the Bharat Jodo Yatra finally came to a close today. While Rahul Gandhi has changed his look, he's grown a beard, he's acquired the role of a more serious politician, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. While the Congress may say that the Yatra should not be linked to elections, it has nothing to do with politics, fact is, that is what the Yatra and Mr. Rahul Gandhi are going to be judged by. Whether Bharat Jodo can actually result in Congress ko satta se jodo. Can the Congress emerge as a serious contender to take on the BJP in 2024? Can it be the fulcrum around which the opposition rallies itself to take on the election-winning juggernaut that is the BJP?
जो विचारधारा इस देश की नींव को तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रही है, उसके खिलाफ हम खड़े हों, मिलकर खड़े हों, नफरत से नहीं, क्योंकि वो हमारा तरीका नहीं है, मोहब्बत से खड़े हों।
आपने राहुल गांधी जी को और प्रियंका गांधी जी को बर्फ के गोलों के साथ तो खेलते देखा, लेकिन शायद वो धन्यवाद करना भूल गए माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का, जिन्होंने सत्ता में आने के बाद अनुच्छेद 370 और 35 को सदा सदा के लिए खत्म किया।
So Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra concluded after passing through 12 states and 2 union territories over 135 days. The foot march that started from Kanyakumari in September culminated in Rahul Gandhi unfurling the tricolour at Lal Chowk in Srinagar. According to the Congress, the objective of the Yatra was to unite the country, which the party claims has been divided by both economic inequalities as well as religious polarization fomented by the NDA government. But the goal of the Yatra itself was to rebrand Rahul Gandhi and galvanize the Congress cadre ahead of the 9 state elections that are slated for this year, and of course, the big one, the 2024 Lok Sabha election. So first, let's break down this 3,500 kilometer long journey of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. It started over 135 days ago. It started from Kanyakumari, traversed all the way through large parts of Kerala. It was there in Kerala for a good 10 days plus. Then it went up to Karnataka, where, remember, it's a poll-bound state, so therefore Mr. Gandhi spent a considerable amount of time traversing through the length and breadth of Karnataka, then moving into Maharashtra, where it spent about a week or so. It was also there in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh very briefly. Remember, Madhya Pradesh goes to polls later this year. It did slip into Gujarat just for a day of campaigning, bang in the middle of the Gujarat election. That, of course, did not necessarily translate well for the Congress party. Then off into Rajasthan, where in Kota, Dausa, Alwar, and finally making its way into Delhi in late December. There was a controversy then as well, of course, around Corona and not being allowed to have mass gatherings, after which it took a break in the last week of December, the first week of January, and then it resumed again earlier this month through Haryana, into Punjab, and then 10 days ago entering into the state of Jammu and Kashmir, finally culminating, like I said, yesterday with the tricolour at Lal Chowk and today's rally at the Sher-e-Kashmir Stadium. But it's not like this 3,500 kilometer long journey was without its share of controversies. Over the last 135 days, like I said, it started off in Tamil Nadu where the BJP attacked Rahul Gandhi for wearing a t-shirt that was allegedly over 40,000 rupees. Then the Congress tweeted a picture of khaki shorts, saying that khaki shorts is often associated with the RSS. The shorts were set on fire. That, of course, triggered a backlash from the BJP. It also accused the Congress of being anti-Hindu after he met with controversial Christian pastor George Ponnaya. Then, just as the yatra was to enter Delhi in the last week of December, Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia advised the suspension of the yatra because of COVID protocols, and he said that COVID protocols were being broken by the yatra, so there was a controversy around that. The Congress and the BJP squared off again when former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan joined the march, the BJP saying that this is proof that he was not politically non-affiliated. There was also the former Army Chief, General Deepak Kapoor, who joined in Haryana. That too became a political talking point. In fact, Rahul Gandhi's no sweater, only t-shirt look in the heights of winter in North India, that also grabbed a lot of attention. He then went on to claim that the Congress believes in tapasya, whereas the BJP is a party that stands up for puja or worship. Another controversy that hit the yatra was when DSSP leader Chaudhry Lal Singh decided to join the yatra despite opposition from within a section of the Congress. In fact, most recently, and this has been the biggest controversy in the 3 months of the yatra, senior Congress leader Digvijay Singh demanding proof of the surgical strikes, which Rahul Gandhi went on to say was a ridiculous statement. Now, before the yatra, it was becoming increasingly clear that Rahul Gandhi's rallies in small towns and villages were no longer translating into votes for the Congress. But that changed with the yatra, which involved walking more than 25 kilometers every single day, meeting hundreds of local-level stakeholders on a daily basis. The yatra demonstrated a shift in Rahul Gandhi's leadership skills, his ability to reach out to a cross-section of people. He also managed to shed the image of an immature politician, a privileged dynast who's disconnected from ground realities. The yatra also managed to bring Rahul Gandhi and the Congress to the center of public discourse. He declared that he has killed the old Rahul Gandhi, and the old Rahul Gandhi is in the minds of his political opponents and journalists. He says he's emerged as a new person, but that was not the only controversial statement he made during these last 100 days.
राहुल गांधी आपके दिमाग में है, मैंने मार दिया उसको, वो है ही नहीं, मेरे माइंड में है ही नहीं, गया वो, गया। जिस व्यक्ति को आप देख रहे हो वो राहुल गांधी नहीं है। जब तक मैं नहीं कांपूंगा मैं टी शर्ट पहनूंगा। जब कांपना शुरू हो जाएगा, जब मुझे अच्छी ठंड लगने लगेगी, जबरदस्त कठिनाई होगी, तो फिर मैं स्वेटर पहनने का सोचूंगा, मगर उससे पहले नहीं करूंगा। जिन्होंने 2000 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर हिंदुस्तान का उठा लिया, जिन्होंने हिंदुस्तान के 20 जवानों को शहीद किया, जो हमारे जवानों को अरुणाचल प्रदेश में पीट रहे हैं।
But at the same time, Rahul Gandhi has still not clearly stated how he intends to take on the BJP electorally. Yes, he has talked about, love versus hate. He has stayed away from specific issues. He still hasn't fully stepped on to take on the challenge of reorienting the Congress to take on the ever-expanding BJP. The Congress has also not reached out to BJP voters. It has kept to its side of the political fence, so the party has not had any impact outside its own vote bank. In the past, whenever Rahul Gandhi has tried to pitch an anti-Modi message, that has always backfired for the Congress. So, as the Bharat Jodo Yatra ends, there is still enough that has been done to take on the BJP and Prime Minister Modi's political arsenal. Now, one clear test of the Congress's mixed bag performance is in the elections that have coincided with these last 5 months of the Yatra. Rahul Gandhi stayed away from campaigning for any of these elections except for a day or so in Gujarat. And let's talk about the Gujarat Assembly election results. The Congress had its worst ever performance, losing its deposit in 41 seats, being brought down to just 19 seats with a vote share of under 40%. Some of the redeeming factor was in Himachal Pradesh, where the party managed to wrest power from the BJP by winning 40 out of the 68 seats. There was, of course, the municipal corporation polls in Delhi, a state where the Congress ruled for 15 years uninterrupted. It was routed to just 9 wards. In the Munugode by-polls in Telangana, the Congress was reduced to third place, again in a state where it used to be a two-horse race between the TRS and the Congress. Now the Congress has been relegated to third place. But then it had success in by-polls in Sardar Sheher in Rajasthan, where it is currently in power, and so indeed in Chhattisgarh, in Bhanu Pratappur. Both of these states, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, it is the incumbent party in power. But it did lose the Adhampur by-poll to the BJP. It was a high-profile clash. Kuldeep Bishnoi, who used to be in the Congress for a number of years, he switched sides. He joined the BJP and he won on a BJP ticket in Adhampur. Now that the Bharat Jodo Yatra has concluded, the Congress is positioning itself even more to be at the forefront of the opposition to take on the BJP in 2024. But here's the reality check. Some of these anti-BJP parties, whether it's the DMK, the PDP, the National Conference, and the Uddhav Thackeray faction of the Shiv Sena did join the Yatra in different legs of this Yatra, but most opposition parties are not rallying behind the Congress. 21 like-minded parties were called for the concluding function. Only a handful turned up. Even some parties which are allies of the Congress, the JDU, the RJD, with whom it runs a government in Bihar, even they decided to stay away. So let's break down which are the parties who turned up and which are the parties who decided to give this invitation a skip. The parties that did turn up, there was the DMK, a representative was there in today's function. The NCP did join this yatra at one leg when it was traversing through Maharashtra. There was the PDP. You saw Mehbooba Mufti joining the yatra a few days ago in Pulwama. In Banihal, the National Conference leader, Omar Abdullah, he had joined as well. And then, of course, there were the smaller CPI and CPM parties which joined through the course of this yatra. The parties that notably skipped, Mamata Banerjee and the TMC, the ruling party in Bengal, she skipped the yatra. In Uttar Pradesh, even as the yatra traversed through Uttar Pradesh, the Samajwadi Party, which used to be an ally of the Congress Party in the 2017 polls, they skipped as well. We didn't see pictures of Akhilesh and Rahul Gandhi. The TDP, which is fighting the Congress in Andhra Pradesh, the TDP too has skipped large parts of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. The interesting thing was the JDU and the RJD, both allies of the Congress, while they're ruling in Bihar, both of those parties stayed away from the concluding program today. The BSP too, remember the BSP and the SP had this grand alliance in the UP elections last time around, in the Lok Sabha elections. The BSP too stayed away. And in this concluding function, we did not see any member from the JMM or from the VCK or any of the other smaller parties that are already allied with the Congress. Two parties, notably in the opposition, that were not even invited, the Aam Aadmi Party and the BRS. Meanwhile, the Bharat Jodo Yatra may have established Rahul Gandhi as a serious contender, but the Congress, like I said, is far from being the fulcrum of the opposition. The party has been losing state after state since 2014. Can the Yatra change its fortunes? There's also been an exodus of senior leaders, some of whom were considered close to Rahul Gandhi's inner circle. They too have largely made a beeline for the BJP. There's also the problem of growing infighting in state units. Remember, states like Rajasthan, Karnataka, which are going to polls this year, there is deep infighting between senior leaders of the party. And the party still has no narrative other than targeting Prime Minister Modi while countering the BJP's poll machinery. And there is still no clarity on what the Congress actually stands for. So how can it take on an opponent which has only been getting bigger and stronger in the last 9 years? So let me now open this up to our guests who are joining us. Syed Zafar Islam is spokesperson of the BJP. Dr. Shama Mohammed is Congress Party spokesperson. Riju Datta, spokesperson of the TMC. TK Selangovan, senior leader of the DMK. Ajay Alok, formerly with the JDU and now a political analyst. And Rashid Kidwai, senior journalist, somebody who's got his finger on the pulse within the Congress Party. Let me start with Dr. Shama Mohammed. I just outlined very elaborately for our viewers what the Yatra set out to achieve, what it possibly has achieved, and what still remains to be done. Ultimately, whether or not the Congress likes it, whether or not you link this to electoral results, the fact is, Dr. Shama Mohammed, the Yatra and Mr. Rahul Gandhi's transformation will be judged by electoral results. So far, in the course of these last 135 days, we haven't seen electoral results backing the Yatra or the crowds that the Yatra was drawing. Will that be a factor that will be a problem for Rahul Gandhi and the Bharat Jodo Yatra?
My dearest Zaka, you are a very senior journalist and I expected a very positive story today. let's understand one thing. There is a man called Rahul Gandhi who walked from starting on the 7th of September and ended today, that is 30th, walked 4,080 kilometers in 116 days, did more than 100 public meetings, addressed 13 press conferences, and then showed discipline, showed grit, and showed determination to complete this yatra. I remember when we started off, many people said this yatra will not finish, there won't be a crowd once we cross the southern states. I mean, I was there in the southern states, I have done some of the northern states, and I've seen the crowd throughout. So let's talk about today a positive story instead of the negativity about what is not going to happen and what has happened. You know, what has this yatra done? For the first time after our freedom struggle, after 1947, first time somebody has walked throughout, getting up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and we hoisted the national flag. So what I'm trying to say is, let's talk about that. And what was the yatra started on? The yatra was not started on to get opposition parties together. The yatra was started on to fight the hatred, to bring people together. Like Rahul Gandhi said, nafrat ke bazaar mein muhabbat ke dukaan kholna, and to fight the price rise, to listen to people, to fight the unemployment in this country. You know, what we hear is a man ki baat all the time, and here there was jan ki baat. He was listening to the people and taking in their problems, listening to them, what various issues. And remember that it was not just some industrialist he met.
I'm not begrudging anything that Rahul Gandhi has done over the last 4 or 5 months. Of course, it takes tremendous stamina, energy, grit and determination to traverse 3,000, 4,000 kilometers, walking 20, 25 kilometers a day. No one's taking that away from him. But ultimately, the proof of the pudding is going to be in electoral success. If all of this is not going to change the Congress's fortunes, whether it is in the upcoming state elections or whether it is in Lok Sabha 2024, the yatra will not have been judged kindly. That's just the reality. That's just the reality of the electoral democracy that we live in.
No, I understand what you're saying, Zaka dear. And let me tell you, there is one mistake you made today is BSP's representative was there. I am in Srinagar today. I was there. It was snowing heavily today. We all were under the snow, snowing heavily, but still we continued with the program. All the invitees spoke. Rahul Gandhi ji spoke, Kharge ji spoke, Priyanka ji spoke, all of them spoke. So it is not that there was no representative from the BSP. And electoral success, let me tell you that when he started off the yatra, how do we know that this will not relate into electoral success? Nobody is saying that there will be no electoral success out of it or not. No one's talked about it. But what we have to see today is that which you didn't let me finish, is that he has met industrialists, he has met the manual scavenger, Manrega workers, teachers, old people, young people, every walk, farmers, you know, fishermen, every walk of life. Can you imagine? Let me tell you something which I have witnessed personally. Walking with people, talking to them, and then afterwards also meeting them during your lunch break. Everything, every possible. The man has not rested. He's been committed. And let's talk about what has happened. And let me tell you.
Okay, so let me ask Zafar Islam. Let me open this up.
Let me just finish. Let me finish.
Dr. Shama Mohammed, please.
One point.
I've been on you for the last 5 minutes. Let me now open this up to the rest of the panelists. Zafar Islam, one thing even the BJP will have to, whether begrudgingly or otherwise, concede to, is that Rahul Gandhi's image as a non-serious politician, a politician who goes off on breaks and holidays every few months, that has changed. You have to now contend with this gentleman and with the Congress party. He is offering, whether there are takers for it or not, but he is offering what he believes is an alternate idea of India, an alternate politics to India. Whether or not there are takers, we'll know. But at least you have to give him credit for, you know, staying the course for the last 5 months, waking up every morning and walking 25 kilometers. Not an easy thing.
See, Zaka, if yatra is directionless, then you will not yield any electoral dividend, or for that matter, even the organization, Congress as an organization, will not be benefited. Had he initiated this yatra for one single purpose, to somehow Congress Jodo Yatra, perhaps he could have done much better than what he has achieved so far. Because there are many people, big leaders within the Congress party who has always ridiculed him, have never listened to him, never appreciated his efforts, and always felt that he is immature, and finally deserted him. So it would have been better for him to first work within the Congress framework and within the Congress party, and bring them together and work on a structure where many big leaders would have come together and given him support. But today, he just see, there are only few names which have been tagging along with him all along. Otherwise, all the senior leaders were actually talking about that this yatra is directionless and will yield no electoral dividend. And it is very evident from the fact that in Gujarat, the Congress has been completely battered. Away from that, whatever Dr. Shama Muhammad speaking like a professor and giving so much praising Rahul Gandhi, it's okay because she has to do it. But general perception about Rahul Gandhi and this yatra is that this yatra will yield no electoral benefit to the Congress party, because there are many messages since inception they are giving that this yatra is not political. This yatra is not to bring opposition parties together. This yatra is only for bringing people together. But these kind of and then next morning some other leaders will give some other messages to the people. So while Rahul Gandhi was totally confused, Congress party was confused, and they have confused the entire nation also.
No, so I want to ask some of these smaller parties, the regional parties. I have Riju Datta of the TMC. Riju Datta, the problem is that the opposition on its own, no party in the opposition on its own can take on the BJP, including the Congress. On the one hand, parties like yours say, the Congress has to take the lead. They are the principal opposition party. They are the party that is, relevant in a number of states. The TMC is, obviously it's in power in Bengal. It may be relevant in one or two other states. But ultimately, it's the Congress that is present in a far higher number of states. Yet at the same time, if you look at Samajwadi Party, which had 2.5% vote share in the last election, Lok Sabha election, 5 seats. You had the BSP, which won 10 seats, 3.5% vote share. And your party, of course, which won 22 seats and had a 4% vote share. None of these regional parties wanted to be associated with the Bharat Jodo, did not even join Bharat Jodo for a day. So you can't on the one hand say, there should be opposition unity, and then here you have an opportunity like the Bharat Jodo Yatra, and none of the principal opposition players, certainly the regional players, join the Bharat Jodo.
Zaka, thank you. Please give me the courtesy of time, because there are two facets to this story. Number one, let me speak about the Congress. See, we have got nothing against the person Rahul Gandhi. He is doing what he thinks is the best for him and this party. But in Bengal, their representative, the Bengal president Adhir Chaudhary, he is just constantly irritating and abusing the Trinamool Congress in West Bengal, where they have 0 seats and we have 213 Vidhan Sabha seats. And then they expect us to join the Bharat Jodo. If you give respect, you will get respect. There is no party which has the paternal right on the opposition space. Let me make it very clear. We are the 3rd largest party in the parliament. But saying that, I will also say this, that we want a united India, and the opposition is united on people's issues versus this fascist regime. In 2024, it will be clearly an election of people's issues versus BJP's propaganda. The opposition are united, and they are fighting to save the democracy, the judiciary.
No, but how are you united? I mean, if Trinamool Congress is going to focus on Bengal, and DMK is going to focus on Tamil Nadu, and BRS is going to focus on Telangana, ultimately the vote, like you said, is going to be either for BJP or against BJP. And the against BJP vote is going to be split between all your parties, thereby helping the BJP.
Zaka, I will ask you this question. You are one of the top journalists of the country. The magic figure is 272.
Yeah.
What stands now right now, the opposition totally has a bigger chunk than BJP and the NDA and their alliance or whatever. Now, my question is, if these players, the opposition, all the players, whether it is Trinamool Congress or DMK or all of them, if we fight our own battle and if we won, it has been in the past in this country's history where there has been alliance after the elections. People will, a party Congress itself once had 400 seats, but the next election they lost. So a lot of things can happen. It is not written in stone that in 2024 Narendra Modi is coming back.
The only two times a post-election alliance has led to a government. In fact, it was once when Deve Gowda formed his government. If you go back to 89, there was a pre-election alliance. It was not a post-election alliance. But be that as it may, I want to ask T.K. Silangovan, you know, the DMK did join, Mr. Stalin did join the Bharat Jodo. But even within the UPA itself, and mind you, the UPA is a pale self of what it used to be 10 years ago. Even within the UPA itself, Mr. Silangovan, many parties have stayed away. We didn't see Mr. Sharad Pawar join the Bharat Jodo. We didn't see Uddhav Thackeray join the Bharat Jodo. We didn't see JMM, Mr. Soren join Bharat Jodo. And of course, the two big parties in Bihar with whom the Congress is in alliance and running a government there, they've also not joined Bharat Jodo. So, is there some kind of, misunderstanding, or is there some kind of a gap that still needs to be bridged first within UPA and then perhaps to other regional parties? I just gave the example of TMC, SP and BSP also staying away. But at least they have the benefit that they're not part of the UPA. Even UPA allies have not turned up. What explains that?
No. See, we here, as far as DMK is concerned, we started, our leader, the Chief Minister, started the Yatra from here, flagged off the Yatra from here. And now today, our party MP, Mr. Shiva, had gone there. But see, this is a Yatra by a party leader. So, this does not mean, it is not for electoral purpose. What I see is, it is not for electoral purpose. He is going with a message to the people that we should unite. Unite for what? Is a question which he had explained here and there wherever he had spoken. But when the elections come, these parties will decide as to who should not come back to power because of the problems India is facing as of now. We should decide as to which party should not come to power. So, at that time, all parties will unite. That is my expectation because every party is opposed to BJP. Congress is not their main enemy. Since Sharad Pawar is a partner to Congress, he could not go, maybe because of his age, or he cannot walk a long way, or he must have thought that it is a Congress show. That may be the reason. But they all know that BJP should be removed from power. So they will stand united during elections. But this Yatra is not for elections. I think there will be a unity when they think that only with this unity we can defeat BJP. They will all stand united during the elections.
Okay,
by
we'll
the time
see if
there
that
will be
unity
leaders
happens.
who will work for this unity.
We'll see if that unity happens in 2024. But I want to ask Ajay Alok, and for me, one of the surprising aspects was, Ajay Alok, both the ruling parties, JDU and RJD, which are in alliance, part of the Gathbandhan in Bihar, staying away from the Bharat Jodo Yatra. What explains that? And I humbly disagree with both Shama Mohammed and with Mr. T.K. Silangovan. Ultimately, in politics, electoral success or defeat decides the future of an idea. So, Bharat Jodo as an idea, its legacy, its judgment will be based on how much the Congress wins. And I just want to give the example of Gujarat, because Gujarat and Himachal were the two states that went to polls in the course of the last 5 months when Bharat Jodo was on. Congress was reduced just to 19 seats with a vote share of 38.9%. It is the worst performance ever of the Congress party in the last 30 years in the state of Gujarat.
Mr. Jacob, you are pretty right about your assumptions. See, the whole Yatra was not about defeating BJP or some Bharat Jodo or something of national integration movement or something like that. The whole idea was to strengthen the Congress organization and to instill a confidence within the Congress that yes, Congress is still a force to reckon with, and to show the regional partners who are against the BJP but at the same time wants to marginalize Congress in their own respective states. Like what is happening in Bihar, if you remember 2009, Lalu Yadav simply offered Congress 4 seats. Here is 40 seats. So the alliance broke out in 2009. See what happens in TMC, Bengal. Mamta Didi is not going to have an alliance with Congress.
Yeah.
Now these regional parties, whether Samajwadi Party in UP, JDU-RJD in Bihar, TMC in West Bengal, DMK in the Tamil Nadu, they all want Congress to compromise respectively in the name of opposition unity and then fight election, for which Congress won't be ready because it's a pan-national party. It has to show the presence. And secondly, this yatra was also about targeting a particular section of vote bank which has been gathering away in states like UP, Bihar, Kerala, Telangana. So they have been focusing on that vote strength also. So this was basically done to just energize the Congress party, to say that Rahul re-avatar has come again, and whatever political rhetorics they can score. But ultimately, the election is not going to be fought by a common platform. Every state partner will contest who are against BJP according to their strength and their merit. And definitely alliances will happen. Like if the alliance in Bihar is going to happen, I'm pretty sure with the 7 parties here ruling the state and total of 40 seats, Congress is not going to get more than 2 or 3. Will Congress be ready for that? So it's a difficult proposition in the times to come. Yes, they all have a common agenda. There's no doubt about it. They want BJP out of the center. But this can only happen after poll. After poll, if they manage to contain BJP below 272, which is a very distant possibility in the near future, then my thing can change. But that's something to dream of as of today.
Okay.
So I think, will just give the Congress organization strength.
Yeah, 1 second. Rashid has also been waiting patiently. So Rashid Kidwai, you track the Congress and developments within the Congress. The question that many are asking is, I think it's a very, very simple proposition. In 2019, between the BJP and the Congress, these so-called straight fights, there was 180 seats which were a straight fight, of which the BJP won 164 and only 16 seats the Congress was able to win. So basically the BJP won 10 times more than what the Congress was able to win in those straight fights. There were, I think, 13 states where the Congress did not even open its account. It did not get a single seat in 13 states. Can the Congress, because of Bharat Jodo, change those two statistics? Can it, better its performance in straight fights with the BJP? And can it start by opening its account in some of these 13 states where it's got 0 MPs from?
Zaka, it's a very valid question, but theoretically, yes, but practically, it's a very, very tough call because, when Rahul Gandhi joined politics, there were 4 states where Congress did not have a strength of its own. That was UP, Bihar, Bengal, and Tamil Nadu. Of course, Tamil Nadu, they had an alliance. But subsequently, this kind of thing Congress being 0 has widened and spread to 10 states. If you look at Gujarat, you look at Delhi, you look at Punjab, you look at Telangana, of course, Andhra Pradesh. So all these places where Congress is, does not have a strength to stand on its own feet. And this is something which is very disturbing. So I think Rahul Gandhi is, who's working very hard, who's worked very hard, he has a tendency to arrive early or late. I mean, in sense of, marshalling resources and coming up. I think this is one solid step he has taken. He has got that kind of support that he was looking for. Now the next thing is whether he can identify 200 odd Lok Sabha seats all over the country. That's some of the things that you were mentioning, and bring Congress to fight that. Now this is easier said than done because if you look at that yatra was very carefully curated kind of narrative. It had a lot of outsiders in it, the civil society, the Teen Bandar organization. Everything was very, nicely done. Now, when it comes to Congress, if he goes for another yatra, that would be overkill because the congressmen are not really, in that sense, politically organized to do this thing. They are doing, haath se haath jodo. You see what happens to that yatra. So I think now the real task or difficult task of Rahul Gandhi begins.
No, the most difficult task, and Shama Mohammed, you will agree with this, is not so much the walking from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, not taking anything away from Mr. Gandhi. It is pretty commendable, the energy and stamina required to do that. But I think it would take far more of his time, attention and energy to build a Congress organization in these 3,500 kilometers, in these 12 states that he traversed. That is the reality. And today, is there any evidence to show that the Yatra has led to a more robust Congress organization in any of these states?
Okay, Zaka, just give me a few minutes because I was waiting for a long. One thing again I want to tell you, Zaka, please be a bit positive today, because one important thing, just like you mentioned, in the 5 months he has been walking, there has been these two important elections. One was Gujarat and the other one was Himachal. I can understand if we lost both. We lost Gujarat, but we won Himachal. So there is definitely the effect of the Yatra over there. Number two, a very important point which I've been hearing, that nobody came from the NCP. Representing Sharad Pawar ji, Supriya Sule was there. Representing Uddhav Thackeray ji, Aditya Thackeray was there. And the other third point I want to tell you is about all these leaders from TMC, from RJD, from JDU and various others who couldn't come. We've got letters from them. We've got phone calls giving a good message. Now, like you mentioned, TMC, we oppose in the state, but at the central level, we are united, just like Biju Janata Dal. And who is the biggest opposition of Biju Janata Dal in Orissa is BJP. But when it comes to passing all bills in the Rajya Sabha, Biju Janata Dal is with the Bharatiya Janata Party. So it happens in the BJP, but it cannot happen in the Congress. And the fourth most important point, which I can tell you today is, when I was there, well, let me just finish. I waited a very long time. Let me just finish.
Yes, ma'am.
You're asking if the Congress organization, of course, a Congress organization is hugely strengthened. I could see it when I was going from state to state. And today, what very important thing I want to talk about, Rahul Gandhi ji said in that talk, which I want everybody to know. He said, I got a phone call when I was in school, which told about my grandmother's death. I got a phone call when I was in the US, and his father's good friend called him up and said, there is some bad news. And he knew his father has been assassinated or killed. And he says, I do not want any Jawan's parents getting this phone call again. And that was a very, very meaningful thought. It touched my heart. That is, none of us want this. We want to stop all sorts of killings which happen with the others. So there is definitely a huge message from this Yatra.
All right.
And Congress organization
I got to wrap up. I'm
is
completely out of time. I'll give Zafar Islam the final word. Zafar Islam, I keep coming back to this. At least you have to give credit to Rahul Gandhi that he is the one opposition leader who is consistently taking on the BJP. He's not had any truck with the BJP in his active political life. And B, most importantly, he is offering an alternative. Whether or not there are takers for it, that's a different issue altogether. But he is offering an alternative to the politics of the BJP over the last 8 years.
Zaka, when you say that he is offering an alternative, and there are no takers. If there are no takers, how does it benefit anyone? It doesn't benefit anyone, neither Congress nor the people of this great country, because they all know that these kind of yatras, directionless yatra, is not going to yield any political benefit to Congress party or to the people of this great country. These are just a sort of initiative which has been undertaken based on certain advisors have given them advice that if you walk for 4,000 kilometers, perhaps what other people have been benefited, you will also be benefited, because you have an image which has been of a Pappu which has been created by none other than their own leaders who have deserted them. And today, Shama Muhammad repeatedly requesting you, please be positive. By requesting, you cannot be positive. There has to be some political sense which makes you understand that yes, there is something positivity here.
Okay, I got to wrap up. I'm completely out of time. Thank you very much to all our guests. I'm sorry we had to truncate the debate because this has been going on for a long time. Like I said, 135 days, traversing 3,500 kilometers, a dozen states. I believe there is going to be a second leg of Bharat Jodo from east to west. That's going to be sometime this year. But like I said, I'm convinced about this fact that ultimately the Congress party and Bharat Jodo are going to be judged, whether they like it or not, on what happens in Karnataka, what happens in Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and ultimately what is going to happen in Lok Sabha 2024. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, are Khalistanis getting a free run in Australia? 4 attacks have happened in 3 weeks, and there seems to be no respite. We'll have details of that and more right on the other side of this quick break. When the JNU protests happened, we've seen this again in 2020 when the anti-CAA protests essentially started from these campuses and then spread to Shaheen Bagh. Every time this has happened, it has helped Mr. Modi and rally his base. It has riled up his base. A lot of his supporters feel that this is some kind of vested propaganda. This is some kind of a conspiracy. There are people out there who are trying to get him, and it has helped him electorally. You look at the election victories in those years, it has always overwhelmingly been in favor of the BJP. Do you reckon that the fact that this story, and this is what I find curious again, there's so much of a storm in some of these campuses where left-back unions are very active, whereas the rest of the country doesn't seem to particularly care about this documentary. And every time this has happened, it's only helped serve, polarize in a way that it helps the BJP electorally.
Zaka, I want to make 2 points here. Number one, I disagree with the previous speaker. I think universities and colleges worldwide are actually, they stand for an ideological diversity. Some of them may be more liberal, some of them may be, very woke. Others may even be conservative. It all depends. I mean, there are a lot of people who believe that certain, colleges and institutions are usually, most of the time, more freedom-loving, more revolutionary in their thinking. And that is the way it has been through history. Some of the biggest protests in the world against repressive governments have started in universities. The second point is very, very important that you raised about the fact that Mr. Modi benefits electorally from, every time the Gujarat 2002 riots are talked about, where the very Supreme Court, the BJP courts very often refer to Mr. Modi and his Gujarat government as Emperor Nero, which I believe is a severe indictment of their, political performance at that point of time. But let me give you an example here. I have been a Congress supporter. I continue to be one. 1984 Sikh riots, in my opinion, were heinous. They were horrific. And it was, in my opinion, something that all of us as Indians should hold our heads down in shame.
Yeah.
You know what? The Congress won general elections thereafter. Not just after in 1984, the Congress won again and again. And I can tell you the Congress formed a government in Punjab thereafter. Dr. Manmohan Singh became the Prime Minister. Yet, if today the BJP or any TV anchor or anybody for that matter were to be critical of what happened in 1984 Sikh riots, absolutely justified. Mr. Modi can win 10 elections for all I care. But the truth of life, Zaka, is
all right, are Khalistan backers getting a free run in Australia? Just in the last 3 weeks, we've seen 4 big attacks. It started on the 12th of January. This was at the Bap Swaminarayan temple, which was attacked in Melbourne by unidentified miscreants. The temple walls were defaced. There was graffiti that was pasted there saying Hindustan Murdabad. Then 4 days after that, on the 16th of January, the historic Sri Shiva Vishnu temple was also defaced. Again, devotees noticed anti-India graffiti on the walls of the temple. Then a week after that, on the 23rd of January, an ISKCON temple, this is in a place called Albert Park in Melbourne, was also vandalized, again with the same graffiti. So it's very easy to know that the same people were behind this. The handwriting is similar, the slogans are similar. And then finally, yesterday in Melbourne, when Indian students who were carrying the tricolour were attacked by pro-Khalistan elements right at Freedom Park, or Federation Square as it's known. This was, of course, bang in the middle of when a Six for Justice fueled referendum was being held in Melbourne. Several students suffered injuries. Let's tell you a little bit more about this referendum that was held yesterday in Melbourne. Six for Justice, an organization which is banned here in India, called for a non-binding, completely illegal referendum in Melbourne yesterday. One of the goals was to seek consensus to establish a separate homeland for Sikhs within India. The other was to determine the extent of the demand for a separate Khalistan state. According to the SFJ, around 60,000 Sikhs voted for Khalistan referendum. Similar referendums have already been held in the UK, in Canada, Switzerland and Italy. The Indian High Commissioner to Australia met with the Premier of Victoria and discussed the growing threat from extremist Khalistani groups. The Indian High Commissioner also visited the Bap Swaminarayan temple and the ISKCON temple, which were both targeted. Is there a go slow by the Australian authorities? The Hindu population in Australia stands at over 600,000 as per the 2021 census. Is that not a large enough community for the authorities in Australia to pay heed to?
What happened? Was there
Australian authorities' part or Victorian authorities' part, or things were not explained the way they could be?
Well, I'm not sure where you got that from. I don't think the Australian authorities have upfront spoken about Sikhs for Justice or any particular groups. They have certainly assured us that matters are under investigation, but I don't think they have named any particular groups thus far. Well, we are concerned about the safety of every Indian in Australia, no matter where or no matter what the circumstances. So we hope very much that they will be well looked after. Those who have been injured yesterday, fortunately we are told that the injuries are minor and that they have been treated and discharged. We certainly would always hope for the best for them and will continue to do whatever is required for their welfare.
Amid this slew of attacks over the last 3 weeks, it's becoming clear that several warning signs were ignored by the Australian authorities. Images were circulated of those executed for the assassination of former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. The referendum call was to avenge the execution of the killers of Mrs. Gandhi. There was even a car rally that happened on the 15th of January calling for that Khalistan referendum. Then the second temple that was vandalized right after this car rally. Posters and hoardings of Bhindranwale, that came up as well, calling for a separate Khalistan state. There were threats that were made by Khalistan sympathizers, which are flooded across social media in Australia. So how exactly did this Khalistan movement begin? You have to go back all the way to the 1950s. It was the Akali Dal which sought a separate Sikh province or a Sikh Sabha. But the States Reorganisation Commission rejected this demand, fearing that it would lead to unrest. But after violent protests, the Indira Gandhi government gave in to the demand. The Punjab Reorganisation Act was passed in 1966 and the state was trifurcated. Then in 1973, the Akali Dal brought the Anandpur Sahib Resolution, which is the Magna Carta of Sikh aspirations. This resolution was supported by religious scholar Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale. In the 1980s, Bhindranwale's followers went on a rampage in Punjab, killing hundreds, if not thousands, of people. And that's when Operation Blue Star was launched in 1984 to eliminate Bhindranwale, who was holed up inside the Golden Temple. Now, Australia is not the only country which has witnessed a spurt of attacks by Khalistanis. Back in March of 2021, Khalistani supporters attacked a man during a Tiranga rally organized by members of the Indian diaspora in Brampton in Canada. The same month, Canadians of Indian origin protested against increasing attacks by Khalistan supporters on Hindu minorities. Now, this similar incidents has also happened outside the Indian High Commission in London. So what explains this Khalistani revival that we're seeing in different countries around the world? The biggest reason is that Pakistan and the ISI are desperately trying to revive this movement after the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. There is heightened security in Jammu and Kashmir. The number of terrorist incidents there has come down in the last 2.5 years. Therefore, they're now trying to create unrest in Punjab. Pakistan is also tapping into Khalistanis as it faces global scrutiny over harboring Kashmiri terror groups. The movement is also getting ideological support from Sikhs who live in Canada, UK, Australia, and the United States. The ISI is also trying to persuade Sikhs who are coming to Pakistan to visit the Kartarpur Sahib. Let me now go across to our guest, RP Singh, BJP spokesperson, joining us. Vishnu Prakash is former diplomat, and Bhai Baldeep Singh is a political commentator. RP Singh, not the first attack. There have been 4 attacks in the space of the last 3 weeks, all in Melbourne, all in Australia. Surely, something must be done to try and fix accountability, because there were warning signs, both on social media as well as one of these temple representatives had in fact written to both the Indian High Commission as well as to the Victoria Police, but they were not able to stop these attacks.
Well, Zakir, just further to that, the place where the referendum happened to be a government venue, and that was given by the local government there to the Sikh for Justice for referendum. And although the local government was pre-warned about this, that you can't hand over a government land, a government piece of building for referendum there. But it's sad that it has happened, and surely the government of India has taken up the matter now with the Australian government. But I have to request to make to Australian government through your channel also, that when you have snakes in your backyard, when you keep snakes in your backyard, ultimately they will come and bite you also. I mean, it's not that they are going to spare anyone, because the tendency of the snake is to bite whomever they can bite. So they have to keep this in mind, because these people are radicals, these are extremists, these are
people who are funded by terrorist organization. But all said, they have no support in India. I mean, they have no ground support in India, not from Punjab, neither from any other part of the country. Sikhs don't support any such radical Khalistani elements.
Yeah, that is the surprising part, Vishnu Prakash. I mean, there is absolutely no resonance for this so-called Khalistan separate statehood thing in Punjab or in any other part of India. Whereas, in Canada, in the UK, in Australia, these referendums have been going on. You've been formerly High Commissioner to Canada. What is driving this sentiment amongst some members of the Sikh community in these countries? And is there also some amount of either direct connivance by the local governments there or looking the other way? Or in this case, for example, the Melbourne police, the Victoria provincial government there, simply not capable of handling something like this?
Zaka, good evening. A few bits. One, I can say that Australia is not Canada because Australian politicians, unlike the Canadian politicians, have no reason to mollycoddle the Khalistani elements. Khalistani elements are very much present. It's a fact which cannot be denied in many of these countries that you named. And amongst other things, it has become a business for them. They control gurudwaras, they control funding, and that is one of the reasons. Khalistanis have always been present in Australia. And why Melbourne? Why Victoria? Because of the about 210,000 Sikhs, according to the 2021 census, about half of them are in Victoria. And there is, even in Melbourne, I believe that there is one of the gurudwaras that is controlled by the Khalistanis. So that is a fact. Yet, I would think that Australia has nothing to gain and much to lose by allowing the Khalistanis to run amok. What has happened is deplorable, it's unfortunate and has to be condemned. The Australians had informed the Victorian police about their intention to protest peacefully, and yet the Victorian police was found wanting. They did not take things seriously, or they were ill prepared. And frankly, Zaka, the images that are flooding the TV channel screens of half-clad Sikh, Khalistani Sikhs wielding naked swords, waving swords at peaceful protesters, does not flatter Australian image. So it is unfortunate, but I would dare say that Australia will not tolerate this for long. They are slow to react at times, as one saw in 2009 when there was an attack on Indian students. Correct. I was a spokesperson then and followed that. They initially were in denial, but then they got their act together. And I'm very sure that they will get their act together sooner.
So let me ask Bhai Baldeep Singh, because there was a warning from at least one of these temples. 3 of them have been attacked in the last 3 weeks. At least one of these temples, there was a specific warning that was sent both to the Indian High Commission as well as to the Victoria Police. How will the Australian government respond to these attacks? There have been no significant arrests to show for in the last 3 weeks. How will they ensure, and this is going to be absolutely critical, how are they going to ensure the safety of Indians who are living and working in Australia? And like I said, there seems to be a pattern to these attacks. Hindu places of worship are being attacked, or Indian students who are carrying the tricolour are being attacked. So there is a definitive, almost secessionist pattern to these attacks. So what is the Australian government going to do about it?
Well, I wonder. They have their own laws, Australian laws, and they don't govern as per the Indian laws. And the way, our own systems have failed to deliver justice. I think we, the citizens of India and abroad, living in India and abroad, need to cool down our Khalistan phobia. We need to address the issues that globally makes the Sikhs feel that India has no courage to grant justice to the crimes against the Sikhs that were meted out in the 1980s and 90s. For example, we can shame Bhindranwala in death whenever and as much as people like. People can do that. Media does that day in and day out. But Bhindranwala never asked for Khalistan. National Post, I'm glad that Canada is being discussed. National Post reported a while back that, quote unquote, advocates say Hindu phobia is an increasing problem and needs to be formally acknowledged by human rights and educational bodies as a step towards combating it. Skeptics say it's largely a political weapon to deflect criticism of India's current government and its Hindu nationalist agenda and to promote religious nationalism here.
Mr. Baldeep Singh,
Now,
I have a very simple question to ask you. Once again, I have a very simple question to ask you. If, as you say, this resentment is genuine, it is real, why are we not seeing? Why are we not seeing that in Punjab? There is not an iota of support for any kind of separate statehood or separate Khalistan demand in Punjab. We are only seeing this among sections of the diaspora in countries like Canada, Australia, UK, etc.
Zakaji, these people who live around the world have not landed from the moon. They've been either exiled or they've been forced away from Punjab. We must have a very, very neutral stance to this. What birthed the Khalistani sentiment? Have the issues been resolved and justice ever granted? Have the Sikh prisoners been freed? Justice for 1984, 1971, Anandpur Sahib resolution been accepted. I mean, you have to look at the primary sources of the problem.
I again beg to differ there. RP Singh to respond to Mr. Baldeep Singh. But look, let's be very, very clear about this. A majority of people who leave Punjab and go to Canada or Australia or UK do so for economic reasons. They do so for chances of a better livelihood. They're not doing this because they've been forced out or exiled out or for political persecution. I think let's be very clear about that tonight. But let me get RP Singh to respond to Bhai Baldeep Singh, please. Yes, RP Singh.
Well, there was a lot of echo in his voice, but whatever I could make, he's trying to say that he's trying to justify the act of the radicals and Khalistanis abroad, saying that justice has not been given to Sikhs and probably that much. So, Bible
legitimizing anyone? Asking for justice is never wrong. RP Singh ji, your government is there.
Justice
why have the prisoners not been freed?
For what?
What is the problem for Chandigarh being given back to Punjab? Why? The problems that the Congress governments, one after the other, have done unto the Sikhs. The BJP has such a close relationship with the Sikhs. Why can't this problem be solved within 2 weeks?
Okay.
I'm willing to join any committee.
RP Singh.
Can I?
Yeah.
By Baldeep ji, probably the amount of work the Prime Minister Modi ji has done for the Sikhs, it has not been done in 70 years in the history of the India. Kartarpur corridor was the demand of Sikh, which Prime Minister Modi took initiative. Allow me to complete. Please allow me to complete. The way the celebrations have been done from 550 years, 400 years of Guru Tegh Bahadur, 550 years of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, I have not seen such celebrations. Can I complete, sir? The way the Sahibzada Shahidi Divas has been celebrated countrywide. I mean, and then probably there's not a single petrol pump where the poster of the Sahibzada Shahadat is not being displayed. The message of the Shahadat of the two younger Sahibzadas has been...
But all of that does not compensate.
Okay, no. Listen. I'm out of time, and this is not the way. I can't have two guests speaking over each other. I'm out of time. I'll leave it at that. All I'll say is this: that let's absolutely not misconstrue here. I don't think there is an iota of any kind of separate Khalistan or separate statehood demand here in Punjab. Punjab has seen election after election, even just as recently as last year, where there was a massive mandate that was given to one political party. If the overriding sentiment was that we don't believe in the electoral process, we don't believe in India, you wouldn't have seen a majority of people come out and cast their vote. This sentiment exists among some people in the diaspora, in Canada, in Australia, in the UK, perhaps aided and abetted by inimical interests in Pakistan, the ISI, so on and so forth. But let's be very clear that as long as India is one nation with a collection of states, you will not see this Khalistan demand see the light of day. Yes, there are nefarious interests, there are vested interests who are trying to keep the pot boiling. I think the important thing for the Sikh community is to guard itself against those nefarious interests. That's a wrap. Thank you very much for tuning in. Banerjee and the TMC, the ruling party in Bengal, she skipped the yatra. In Uttar Pradesh, even as the yatra traversed through Uttar Pradesh, the Samajwadi Party, which used to be an ally of the Congress Party in the 2017 polls, they skipped as well. We didn't see pictures of Akhilesh and Rahul Gandhi. The TDP, which is fighting the Congress in Andhra Pradesh, the TDP too has skipped large parts of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. The interesting thing was the JDU and the RJD, both allies of the Congress, while they're ruling in Bihar, both of those parties stayed away from the concluding program today. The BSP too. Remember, the BSP and the SP had this grand alliance in the UP elections last time around, in the Lok Sabha elections. The BSP too stayed away. And in this concluding function, we did not see any member from the JMM or from the VCK or any of the other smaller parties that are already allied with the Congress. Two parties, notably in the opposition, that were not even invited, the Aam Aadmi Party and the BRS. Meanwhile, the Bharat Jodo Yatra may have established Rahul Gandhi as a serious contender, but the Congress, like I said, is far from being the fulcrum of the opposition. The party has been losing state after state since 2014. Can the Yatra change its fortunes? There's also been an exodus of senior leaders, some of whom were considered close to Rahul Gandhi's inner circle. They too have largely made a beeline for the BJP. There's also the problem of growing infighting in state units. Remember, states like Rajasthan, Karnataka, which are going to polls this year, there is deep infighting between senior leaders of the party. And the party still has no narrative other than targeting Prime Minister Modi while countering the BJP's poll machinery. And there is still no clarity on what the Congress actually stands for. So how can it take on an opponent which has only been getting bigger and stronger in the last 9 years? So Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra concluded after passing through 12 states and 2 union territories over 135 days. The foot march that started from Kanyakumari in September culminated in Rahul Gandhi unfurling the tricolour at Lal Chowk in Srinagar.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma.